that I was like, and all my friends were there. They're like, and then your friends are trying to laugh, but it's really not funny. So they're making that sound. That was what my sister-in-law was making. But it's not a laugh because you can't. If it's not funny, you can't make yourself fucking laugh at it. You just go
Now, what year was this?
86.
Oh my! And what was going on in the comedy community then? They were all over the place, comedy clubs, or no?
No, no. They were. That was pretty much the
86.
middle of the boom, I guess. There was three. There were 4 clubs in Dallas. So I figured out I'm smart on a couple levels, but one of them is I saw that was an MC job, not an opening act job. So if you were really dedicate yourself to becoming a really good master of ceremonies, even though you suck, if you memorize the announcements and you know who's coming next week and you make it look like a show, then you'll probably get more work than these guys that are just back there looking at their stupid little horrible jokes, and then they're like pulling out pieces of paper, and then so I'm like, well, fuck show business, why not make it slicker? Maybe that helps to get stage time, because that's what you need is stage time. How do you get on stage? How do you stay on stage? Where do you have to go to get on stage? Because if you're not willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to stay on stage, then it won't work anyway. But it for sure won't work if you don't have that kind of attitude or mentality of I would invent things to put me on stage when I was an amateur comic. I would go to these restaurants or hotels with a restaurant, and I would set up a comedy competition, and first place would be dinner for 2, and I would only invite comics that I was funnier than. If you were funnier than me, you weren't going to hear about this competition, because I wanted the fucking food. That meant something. That was like $16 worth of stuff, and and a meal was fucking that important. It meant something, and so I just kind of learned how to set up gigs that way. So now we're going to talk them into. I'm going to start talking them into $300 for first place and $200 or whatever, and then eventually I got good enough anybody could come. I could.
When did you start featuring? How long?
I started featuring. I got a phone call one day, and from the Funny Bone in Arlington, Texas, and Sam Kinison was coming to the Dallas County Convention Theater for a makeup show. He'd already missed it. He'd already canceled it, and Carl LeBeau was in rehab, and they really hadn't thought about who was going to open the show, so they called the Improv Day a show, and ask him, who can we get to do this? And they go, well, Ron White's pretty funny, and I wish I could tell you when it was, but I think maybe 2 years or a year and a half or something. I only had 15 minutes, and it was a 20-minute job. So when they said 20 minutes, I was like, sure. And so it wasn't very long into it. And I go down there, and with my first wife, Lori, and Alex Raimundo, my dear friend for 30 years to this day. We'll work together tomorrow night or last week or whatever. And so Sam, it's 2,000 seats. I hadn't played more than Funny Bone. That's all I'd played. And, but they were packed, and back in the 80s, and so his brother was there. I can't remember his name now. Kinison's brother was his manager.
Bill,
right? Bill. And he's and Sam's not there. There's nobody else back there. And when they have a 6-pack of beer and an ice chest, and then Sam has a dressing suite with a bunch of stuff in it, and but nobody's there. And so he goes, well, we're gonna go ahead and start the show. And he goes, Sam's opening act is oft times a sacrificial lamb, because Sam was at his peak of popularity, and he said sometimes they'll just start yelling at you and trying to get you off stage, and they just want to see Sam. So whatever happens, don't take it fucking personal. And I was like, okay, all right, okay. And I go out there, and the set was so strong that it lasted 16 minutes. You know, it was only 14 minutes of stuff, but I murdered and just absolutely killed. And I was looking over the side, and I know he was hoping I would do more time because Sam still wasn't there. And I'm like, all right, and the fucking crowd goes nuts. And then there's the people that. Some people that were owners of the Funny Bone chain were at that show, and some people from the Laugh Stop were at that show, and I think the Punchline also. And so anyway, I come off stage, and Sam's still not there, so you know I'm high-fiving Lori and Alex, and that was great. That was kill. That was murder. That's the best thing ever. And we're back there drinking. They had a 6-pack of Budweiser, and Alex and I smoke a joint, and all of a sudden three limos pull up. Now there's 20 people back there. As soon as Sam gets there, he sends his bodyguard to get me, and he goes, "Mr. Kinison would like to meet you." And so I go back in the back, and he's there's 2 rooms in this little dressing area, and people in the front, and then there was a private room in the back, and it's just Sam and a hooker, I guess, and he's got a big old vial of blow, and there's a rock stuck in it, and he's just banging it on the table. He's working on it. He's frustrated. He can't get what he wants out of the end of this bottle, and then finally it clumps up, and he got out of there, and a big old pile, and he goes, "Heard you killed him, cowboy." And I go, "Yeah, Sam, that was a great crowd. You're gonna have fun." He goes, "How about a cup of coffee?" And I was like, yeah, okay, all right. And so we both did he did this monster rail of blow, and then faked a heart attack, and nobody believed it but me. And but he did. He's on his back, grabbing his fucking heart, and just fucking shaking. And I'm like, because I know I would have died if I'd have done that one instead of the one I did. And then he hops up laughing, and he goes, "Let me show you how to do this." And he goes on stage and just pounds the fuck out of this crowd. It was so beautiful to see. And so afterwards, I had a demon on each side, a demon and a devil. I had a demon and an angel. And the angel was all the representatives from those clubs going, "Let's go out to dinner, and we'll have a nice discussion about your comedy career."
We're going in like fucking Marines, you understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.